The stars were calm tonight. Commander Jake Morrison stood before the vast viewing window on the bridge of the Valiant, watching them drift by like distant fires. His ship was a titan of war, bristling with weapons, armor, and systems born from decades of research. But for now, everything felt still. Routine patrol, outer rim, far from anything that mattered. Out here, nothing ever happened. 15 years in uniform had made Jake a master of monotony. He knew every hum, every vibration of his ship. The Valiant was Earth's pride, the newest battleship in the fleet, a fortress wrapped in steel and light. But for 3 long months, they'd done nothing but scan barren rocks and file empty reports. The crew was restless, bored soldiers trapped in endless silence. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan sat at her console, maintaining the comm arrays. She was young, sharp, one of the best officers he'd ever served with. Her job was simple: listen for signals, anything that mattered. Usually it was just static. Tonight was different. Kate straightened suddenly, fingers flying across the holographic panels. The blue light from the displays painted her face in a nervous glow. She turned toward Jake, eyes tense. "Commander, we're receiving something strange." Multiple signals from the same region. "The computer's translating now." Jake crossed the deck, heavy boots echoing softly. Every crew member turned to watch. The air shifted. Instinct told them this was no ordinary call. "What kind of signals?" he asked. Kate's voice trembled slightly. "Distress calls, sir." Dozens of them. "Whoever's sending them, they sound terrified." Jake felt his pulse quicken. Out here, far from Earth, distress calls meant only one thing: someone was dying. But who could it be in a sector this remote? "Play them," he ordered. The bridge filled with voices, alien, desperate, overlapping. The Valiant's translator strained to make sense of the chaos. Through the distortion, English words began to form. "This is the kingdom of Valendra. Our worlds are burning. The Qatar swarm has broken through. Millions are dead. Please, anyone, help us!" Another voice followed, frantic and fading. "This is the Thanner Empire. 3 colonies lost. We have hours left. If anyone strong enough can hear this, help us!" More transmissions poured in. Panic, ruin, extinction. Entire civilizations screaming into the void. Jake felt the weight of it all settle on his chest. They weren't human, but they were alive and dying. "Sir," called Peter Hayes, the young navigation officer, "all signals trace back to the Vidian sector, 40 light-years away." Kate threw the data onto the main screen. Star maps, burning worlds, fragmented telemetry, each image worse than the last. "Commander," she said grimly, "these Qatar, they're a hive mind. Insectoid organisms that consume everything. The aliens have been fighting them for months, but their weapons can't stop them. They've already lost dozens of systems." Jake looked around the bridge. Every eye was on him. The Valiant was too far to request orders. By the time Earth responded, the Vidian sector would be gone. He thought of why he joined, why any of them did. To protect, to stand between life and annihilation. "Send a message to Earth Command," he said finally. "Tell them what we found and what we're doing. Set course for the Vidian sector. Maximum speed." "Aye, sir," Peter replied, hands moving fast. Quantum drive engaged. ETA 6 hours. The stars outside stretched into streaks of light as the Valiant jumped into FTL. Jake activated the ship-wide channel. "This is Commander Morrison. We've received multiple distress calls from alien civilizations under attack. We're going to help them. All combat teams, prepare for engagement. Engineering, shields, and weapons to full. This is what we trained for. Let's show them what humans can do." "Understood, Commander," came Chief Engineer Carlos Martinez's steady voice from deep within the ship. "Reactor output rising to combat levels." "We'll be ready." Kate's face grew paler as more messages came through. "Sir, the Soral Confederacy just went silent. Their last transmission said the swarm reached their homeworld." Jake gripped the railing, knuckles white. "How many lives are we talking about?" Kate scanned the fragmented data, her voice soft, still alive. Kate's voice trembled as she said it. 80 billion souls. The number felt impossible, beyond comprehension. 10 times Earth's entire population. And every one of them stood at the edge of extinction. The bridge fell silent. Every crew member knew what it meant. They were one ship facing a force that had crushed entire civilizations. But they also knew they were the only ones answering the call. Peter glanced at his instruments. ETA to the Vidian sector. 5 hours, 42 minutes, Commander. Jake stared out at the endless stream of light streaking past the view screen. His jaw tightened, resolve hardening into iron. They would fight. They would save whoever they could or die trying. Then we make every second count, he said quietly. All hands, prepare for battle. When we arrive, there will be no time to hesitate. The Valiant raced through the dark, a spear of steel cutting toward the unknown. Inside, hundreds of men and women worked in tense silence, arming weapons, running diagnostics, whispering prayers. None of them knew what awaited them. But one truth united them all. Humanity was about to announce itself to the galaxy, and the announcement would come in fire and thunder. 6 hours stretched into eternity. When the Valiant finally dropped out of quantum speed, the view before them froze the bridge into stunned silence. Space itself burned. Debris fields glimmered like dying embers, and distant planets were shrouded in flame. Kate's fingers blurred over her console. Commander, picking up thousands of biological signatures. These things are alive. Each one's the size of a small warship. They're swarming around 3 inhabited worlds right now. Jake turned toward the tactical display, the holomap filled with red markers, thousands of them, devouring the few blue dots that represented the defenders. For every friendly ship, 20 enemy creatures moved in unison. What about the local defense fleet? He asked. Kate zoomed in. The alien formations were collapsing, ships torn apart one by one. They're dying, sir. Their weapons can't pierce the swarm's armor. Energy fire gets absorbed. Missiles detonate harmlessly. Commander, Peter called out, tension in his voice. Incoming hails, multiple sources, all requesting communication. Put them through, Jake ordered. The main display shifted, dividing into 3 panels. 3 alien commanders appeared, each from a different race. One shimmered like living crystal, refracting light through its body. Another was scaled and reptilian, upright and regal. The third had 4 eyes set in a diamond pattern, blinking in exhaustion and disbelief. The crystalline being spoke first, its voice a haunting melody the translator barely kept up with. Unknown vessel, this system is lost. If you value survival, retreat immediately. I am High Admiral Zephyros of the Kingdom of Valendra. We cannot protect you! Jake stepped forward, shoulders squared. His voice was calm, resolute. High Admiral, I'm Commander Jake Morrison of the United Nations Warship Valiant. We come from Earth. We received your distress calls, and we're here to help. The 4-eyed alien scoffed slightly, disbelief plain in its alien features. I am Chancellor Vix of the Thanner Empire. Commander Morrison, we honor your intent, but you are one vessel, one ship, against thousands of enemies. Creatures. Entire fleets are being wiped out as we speak. Save yourself and your people while you still can. Jake's mouth curved into a faint, knowing smile, not of joy, but of grim certainty. Chancellor High Admiral, with all due respect, he said evenly. You've never seen a human battleship fight. Lieutenant Sullivan, transmit our tactical specs. Show them what Valiant can do. Kate's hand swept across the console, sending data bursts to the alien commanders. Jake watched their reactions as the numbers appeared on their screens. First disbelief, then confusion, then a flicker of hope. High Admiral Zephyros looked up, crystalline tones vibrating with shock. These figures cannot be correct. No vessel of your size could house this many weapons. And your reactor output, it's impossible. Jake didn't respond. He turned to Kate instead. Power all systems. Target the nearest swarm cluster. Kate's nervousness evaporated. This was her element now, battle. All weapons online, Commander. Target lock on 68 hostiles. Railguns charged, missiles loaded, plasma batteries at full capacity. Ready to fire. Jake's eyes stayed on the main display, his voice calm. Fire, space erupted. The Valiant unleashed pure destruction. Railgun rounds blazing white-hot as they screamed through the void, each striking with the power of a bomb. Missile trails carved streaks of fire across the darkness, and plasma cannons hurled bolts of superheated energy that tore the swarm apart. In 15 seconds, 68 Ketar creatures were gone, vaporized, shredded, nothing left but drifting fragments. The alien commanders stared in silence. Shock, awe, disbelief, none had words. Chancellor Vix finally broke it. "By the ancient stars, your weapons are kinetic? You use physical projectiles?" Kate replied while monitoring new swarm signatures closing in. "Yes, Chancellor. Railguns are our primary armament. Kinetic energy doesn't fail. Energy weapons are secondary." Zephyros waved its crystalline limbs, almost frantic. "We abandoned kinetic systems long ago. We believed energy was superior, more civilized. Commander Morrison, we were wrong. Terribly wrong." Jake was already thinking ahead. "High Admiral, pull your fleets back. Form a defensive perimeter around your inhabited worlds. We'll engage the swarm and draw their focus. Can your ships handle rapid maneuvers?" The scaled alien, Commander Thraus of the Border Defense Legion, nodded quickly. "They can, Commander." "But what are you planning?" "There are thousands of them." Jake glanced at his crew. Every face mirrored the same resolve he felt. "We're going to remind the galaxy why humanity has a reputation. You'll have time to evacuate civilians and regroup." "We'll handle the swarm," Peter's sensors blared. "Commander, over 2,000 hostiles are converging on our position." Jake turned back to the alien leaders. "Admirals, retreat to safety. When this is over, we'll discuss rebuilding. For now, let us do what we were made for." Zephyros gave a crystalline salute. "May the stars guide your aim, Commander Morrison. Our people will remember this day, whatever the outcome." Jake cut the transmission and faced his crew. His tone was steady, unshakable. "All right, everyone." You heard them. Peter, evasive pattern Delta, Kate, all weapons free. Carlos, maximum power to shields and guns. "Let's show them why the Valiant was built," the crew answered as one. "Yes, sir." The Valiant pivoted to face the oncoming swarm. 2,000 enemies against one ship. Impossible odds. But no one flinched. Humanity didn't run. They endured. They fought. The Valiant dove into the fray like a predator, moving with impossible grace. Thrusters flared, rolling the warship through clouds of living monsters. Kate called out coordinates, her voice sharp and sure. "Bearing 320, elevation 15, 47 hostiles. Bearing 090, depression 20, 68 more incoming." The ship answered her commands with deadly rhythm. Railguns thundered, tungsten rounds punching through armor and erupting creatures from within. Peter's hands raced across his console, sweat glistening on his brow. "Commander, they're trying to encircle us." "I can chart an escape vector if you—" Jake cut him off. "No, let them come. The closer they pack, the more we can kill." Kate, ready the point defense grid. "They'll try to ram us." Kate activated the defense network. Turrets unfolded from the hull, spitting hypervelocity rounds and plasma bursts. The first wave disintegrated before reaching the ship, but the swarm adapted. Their hive mind shifted strategy. Now they came in layered waves from every direction. Carlos's calm voice came through the comms, steady despite the chaos. "Commander, reactor output holding at 95%. Weapons are stable, shields at full, ready for whatever comes next. Creatures, entire fleets are being wiped out as we speak. Save yourself and your people while you still can." Jake's mouth curved into a faint, knowing smile, not of joy, but of grim certainty. "Chancellor High Admiral, with all due respect," he said evenly. "You've never seen a human battleship fight. Lieutenant Sullivan, transmit our tactical specs. Show them what Valiant can do." Kate's hands swept across the console, sending data bursts to the alien commanders. Jake watched their reactions as the numbers appeared on their screens. First disbelief, then confusion, then a flicker of hope. High Admiral Zephyros looked up, crystalline tones vibrating with shock. "These figures cannot be correct. No vessel of your size could house this many weapons. And your reactor output, it's impossible." Jake didn't respond. He turned to Kate instead. "Power all systems. Target the nearest swarm cluster." Kate's nervousness evaporated. This was her element now, battle. "All weapons online, Commander. Target lock on 68 hostiles. Railguns charged, missiles loaded, plasma batteries at full capacity. Ready to fire." Jake's eyes stayed on the main display, his voice calm. Fire! Space erupted. The Valiant unleashed pure destruction. Railgun rounds blazing white-hot as they screamed through the void, each striking with the power of a bomb. Missile trails carved streaks of fire across the darkness, and plasma cannons hurled bolts of superheated energy that tore the swarm apart. In 15 seconds, 68 Ketar creatures were gone, vaporized, shredded, nothing left but drifting fragments. The alien commanders stared in silence. Shock, awe, disbelief, none had words. Chancellor Vix finally broke it. "By the ancient stars, your weapons are kinetic? You use physical projectiles?" Kate replied while monitoring new swarm signatures closing in. "Yes, Chancellor. Railguns are our primary armament. Kinetic energy doesn't fail. Energy weapons are secondary." Zephyros waved its crystalline limbs, almost frantic. "We abandoned kinetic systems long ago. We believed energy was superior, more civilized. Commander Morrison, we were wrong. Terribly wrong." Jake was already thinking ahead. "High Admiral, pull your fleets back. Form a defensive perimeter around your inhabited worlds. We'll engage the swarm and draw their focus. Can your ships handle rapid maneuvers?" The scaled alien, Commander Thraus of the Border Defense Legion, nodded quickly. "They can, Commander. But what are you planning?" "There are thousands of them." Jake glanced at his crew. Every face mirrored the same resolve he felt. "We're going to remind the galaxy why humanity has a reputation. You'll have time to evacuate civilians and regroup." "We'll handle the swarm," Peter's sensors blared. "Commander, over 2,000 hostiles are converging on our position." Jake turned back to the alien leaders. "Admirals, retreat to safety. When this is over, we'll discuss rebuilding. For now, let us do what we were made for." Zephyros gave a crystalline salute. "May the stars guide your aim, Commander Morrison. Our people will remember this day, whatever the outcome." Jake cut the transmission and faced his crew. His tone was steady, unshakable. "All right, everyone." You heard them. Peter, evasive pattern Delta, Kate, all weapons free. Carlos, maximum power to shields and guns. "Let's show them why the Valiant was built," the crew answered as one. "Yes, sir." The Valiant pivoted to face the oncoming swarm. 2,000 enemies against one ship. Impossible odds. But no one flinched. Humanity didn't run. They endured. They fought. The Valiant dove into the fray like a predator, moving with impossible grace. Thrusters flared, rolling the warship through clouds of living monsters. Kate called out coordinates, her voice sharp and sure. "Bearing 320, elevation 15, 47 hostiles. Bearing 090, depression 20, 68 more incoming." The ship answered her commands with deadly rhythm. Railguns thundered, tungsten rounds punching through armor and erupting creatures from within. Peter's hands raced across his console, sweat glistening on his brow. "Commander, they're trying to encircle us." "I can chart an escape vector if you—" Jake cut him off. "No, let them come. The closer they pack, the more we can kill." Kate, ready the point defense grid. "They'll try to ram us." Kate activated the defense network. Turrets unfolded from the hull, spitting hypervelocity rounds and plasma bursts. The first wave disintegrated before reaching the ship, but the swarm adapted. Their hive mind shifted strategy. Now they came in layered waves from every direction. Carlos's calm voice came through the comms, steady despite the chaos. "Commander, reactor output holding at 95%. Weapons are stable. Shields at full, ready for whatever comes next." Using massive amounts of power, the Valiant's guns kept blazing. "We can maintain this rate for another 2 hours before cooling is mandatory," Carlos reported. Jake did the math. 2 hours would be enough. "Understood. Keep me updated." From orbit, the alien defense fleets watched in disbelief. They had pulled back as Jake ordered, forming a ring around their worlds. Now they could see the human warship in full fury. High Admiral Zephyro, aboard the crystalline flagship Valendran, stared at the display. The human vessel moved like it was born for war, every turn precise, every shot lethal, never once faltering. "How many have they destroyed?" Zephyro asked. The tactical officer checked the readings. "In the last 12 minutes, High Admiral, over 400 swarm creatures, kill rate still increasing." For the first time in months, Zephyro felt something unfamiliar. Hope. Genuine burning hope. "Open a channel to all fleets. Tell them to ready counteroffensive operations. If the humans thin the swarm enough, we'll strike beside them. On the Valiant? Kate's voice cut through the battle noise. Commander, the swarm is changing tactics. They're spreading out, adapting to our weapons. Jake processed it instantly. Then we adapt faster. Peter, adjust course. Cut through their new formation. Kate switched to sustained fire. We'll chase individual targets. Peter executed flawlessly. The Valiant shifted from defensive posture to hunter mode, using its superior speed to pursue and annihilate isolated foes. Kate coordinated every weapon system. Railguns 1 and 2, targets Alpha through Delta, plasma cannons, opportunistic shots. Missile batteries, prep saturation fire on the far group. For another hour, the Valiant tore through the swarm. Nothing breached its defenses. The point grid shredded attackers before impact. Shields withstood acid sprays. From engineering, Carlos warned, Commander, several weapon systems are nearing thermal limits. Recommend cycling down railguns 3 and 4. Approved, Jake replied. Kate, compensate with plasma fire. Then Peter's alarm froze the bridge. New contact, massive biological signature inbound. 10 times the size of anything else. Maybe more. Kate pulled the sensor feed onto the main display and went pale. Commander, I think that's the Swarm Queen. The view screen filled with the image of a nightmare, a living fortress larger than the Valiant, its rock-like armor glistening with alien mucus, weapon vents glowing sickly green. Every eye turned to Jake. This was the deciding moment. If they killed the Queen, the swarm would collapse. If not, billions would die. All stations, combat priority Alpha. We engage the Queen, Jake commanded. Peter plotted an intercept. Kate's fingers flew across controls. Arming all missile batteries, 144 ready in 30 seconds. The Valiant turned toward its colossal prey. Across the system, alien fleets watched as the lone human warship prepared to face the horror that had nearly ended them all. Some prayed. Others watched in silence. Jake gripped the bridge railing, eyes fixed on the view screen as the Queen loomed closer. He thought of Earth, of his crew's faith, of the 80 billion souls depending on them. Entering weapons range in 60 seconds, Commander, Peter called. Jake drew a long breath. All crew, battle stations. This is why we came here. Let's make it count. The Queen advanced with her escort, unaware of the fury awaiting her, unaware of what humanity became when it fought for something greater than survival. The colossal creature glided with eerie grace, surrounded by its living shield. Kate's sensors fed her endless data. Commander, its armor's 3 times thicker than the others. Multiple weapon arrays, looks like some kind of energy bow. Weapons range in 90 seconds. Jake stood at the center of the bridge. His mind was racing through every possible scenario. Jake knew every choice now carried the weight of life or death. One wrong move could doom them all. Peter, bring us to attack speed. Fast enough that the escort creatures can't keep up. We need to isolate the Queen. Peter acknowledged and executed flawlessly. The Valiant surged forward, engines roaring as they pushed to blistering velocity. The organic swarm couldn't match it. Within moments, the human ship had pierced the defensive wall and was face to face with the Queen itself. The Swarm Queen reacted instantly. Its titanic body twisted toward the approaching vessel, bioweapon nodes along its flanks igniting with a sickly green radiance. It was charging to fire. Commander, Kate reported urgently, energy buildup is massive. Whatever it's firing, our shields might not hold. Jake's decision came on instinct. Evasive maneuver, Gamma. Kate, railguns, all of them on my mark. Target the weapon ports. The Valiant rolled sharply left as the Queen unleashed its attack. Multiple bioplasma beams tore through the void, their combined fury strong enough to vaporize a moon. One beam grazed the Valiant's starboard shields, shaking the ship violently. Carlos's voice cut in from engineering, tense but controlled. Shield generator 2 offline. Rerouting backup power. Hull integrity 92%. We can take a few more, but not many. Fire! Jake ordered. Every operational railgun erupted at once. Tungsten carbide slugs streaked across space at near-light speed, smashing into the Queen's weapon ports. Explosions rippled across its hull as organic armor ruptured and toxic green fluid burst free, freezing instantly. Direct hits, Kate confirmed. 4 ports disabled, 2 destroyed outright. The rest leaking, but it's still coming. Escorts are closing fast. Jake's gaze flicked to the tactical display. The swarm escorts had turned back, 2 minutes before they'd be overwhelmed. Prepare missile saturation pattern Omega. Every missile we have. Target the central body mass. Kate's fingers flew across her console. 144 missiles armed. Thorax region targeted. Armor weakest there, 8 seconds to impact. Sensing danger, the Queen twisted, presenting its thickest armor. But Peter kept the Valiant in perfect attack position. Escorts entering weapons range, 30 seconds. He warned. Fire missiles. Point defense to pattern Delta. Protect those warheads. The Valiant's launch bays opened like steel petals. 144 missiles roared into the void, leaving trails of burning light. Automated turrets tracked and annihilated anything that dared approach. The Queen writhed and rolled, but the missiles adapted, adjusting trajectory in flawless formation. Kate counted down, voice steady. 3 seconds. 2, 1. Impact. The void exploded into daylight. A miniature sun flared, its brilliance dimmed automatically by the screens. When it faded, the Swarm Queen hung in ruin, its thorax obliterated, armor shattered, green fluid spilling into space. Silence swept across every fleet. The creature that had consumed billions, unstoppable and godlike, was dead, destroyed by a single human ship no one had ever heard of. Kate's voice broke the silence. Commander, the Queen's life signs are gone. Jake monitored the situation as it shifted rapidly. Commander, Kate reported, the smaller swarm creatures are breaking off. They're scattering in all directions. Without the Queen's control, they're just wild animals now. They're fleeing. Jake exhaled slowly, only then realizing how long he'd been holding his breath. The tension that had bound him for hours finally began to ease. Open a channel to the Allied fleet. All frequencies. Peter's hands moved quickly across his console. Channel open, Commander. Jake addressed the gathered alien armadas who had witnessed every moment of the battle. High Admiral Zephos, Chancellor Vix, Commander Thraus, and all Allied vessels, the Swarm Queen has been destroyed. The remaining creatures are disorganized. Now is your moment. Strike hard. Hunt down the stragglers before they regroup or escape. Reclaim your systems, High Admiral Zephos responded, his crystalline form shimmering. The translator struggled to capture the emotion in his voice. Commander Morrison, you have done what we thought was impossible. You've given us back our future. All ships, you heard the commander? Advance and engage. Let none escape! The alien fleet surged forward with newfound determination. Vessels that had been retreating in despair only hours earlier now pressed the attack, united and relentless. Across the stars, the swarm's remnants were hunted down and annihilated. From engineering, Carlos reported, Commander, damage control teams are working on Shield Generator 2, should be online in 40 minutes. All other systems stable. Ammo reserves at 42%. Jake finally allowed himself a rare moment to breathe. Good work, everyone. Exceptional performance under pressure. He turned toward the helm. Peter, plot a course to Vidian Prime. I think we have much to discuss with our new allies. As the Valiant set course for the alien homeworld, Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was exhausted but proud. They had saved billions and shown the galaxy what humanity could do when united. But deep down, Jake knew this was only the beginning. 3 days later, Jake stood in the observation lounge of Vidian Prime's orbital station, gazing down at the wounded yet living world below. Cities lay in ruins, forests scarred, but life endured. Reconstruction fleets moved in perfect formation. Supply vessels carried aid and workers rebuilt tirelessly. The aliens weren't surrendering, they were rebuilding. The door opened behind him. High Admiral Zephos entered with Chancellor Vix, Commander Thraus, and delegates from a dozen other species. Each had lost millions to the swarm, and each had come to meet the human who had saved them. Zephos's crystalline form refracted light into rainbows as he spoke. Commander Morrison, our assessments are complete. Because of your intervention, more than 70 billion lives were saved. The swarm was hours from breaking our final defenses when you arrived. Jake gestured toward the world below. The credit belongs to your people, Admiral. You held the line when no one else could. We only gave you the tools. Your courage won the day. Chancellor Vick stepped forward, his 4 eyes fixed on Jake. "Commander, something confuses us. Our oldest records, some dating back millennia, contain no mention of your kind. Your technology is beyond anything we know. How can this be?" Jake summoned a holographic galactic map, zooming out to reveal the spiraling arms of the Milky Way. Earth is here, in what you call the Perseus Arm. Humanity achieved faster-than-light travel only 60 years ago. This is our first real contact with other civilizations. We've been exploring quietly, learning, observing. Commander Thraus blinked in disbelief. 60 years? Impossible. Your ship designs, your weapons. Such advancements take millennia. We've been spacefaring for 3,000 years, and we're nowhere close to your capabilities. Jake gave a faint smile, but it wasn't one of pride. It was the kind of smile born from hard lessons and darker truths. It was the smile of someone carrying the weight of old scars. "Commander," Jake began softly, "I don't know if you've heard this saying before, but humanity has a phrase. Necessity is the mother of invention. We never had the luxury of peaceful progress. For most of our history, we've been at war with ourselves. Every weapon system aboard the Valiant was born from human conflict. We learned the hard way that kinetic weapons never fail, so we perfected them over centuries." High Admiral Zephos fell silent, his crystalline form dimming as he processed the truth. "You developed all this to fight your own kind?" Jake nodded slowly, his expression darkening. "Yes, humanity's past isn't peaceful. We've fought countless wars, wiped out civilizations, and committed acts we regret to this day. But we learned. About 2 centuries ago, we finally achieved unity, a single world government. We swore that the weapons forged to destroy each other would instead defend us from whatever might come from beyond. The Valiant represents that philosophy. Human warfare, refined and repurposed for protection, not conquest." Chancellor Vick spoke thoughtfully, her tone filled with wonder. "We abandoned kinetic weapons generations ago. We believed them primitive, barbaric. We pursued energy weapons because they seemed more enlightened. Looking back, we were fools." Jake shook his head firmly. "Not fools, Chancellor. You evolved along a peaceful path, one of efficiency and stability. But efficiency doesn't always mean effectiveness in battle. Humans kept kinetic weapons because physics doesn't lie. When you absolutely must destroy something, mass times velocity is the surest equation for survival. A scaled, many-limbed being stepped forward, its movements deliberate and elegant. Commander Morrison, our councils have been in long discussion since your arrival. We wish to make a formal offer. We call ourselves the Vidian Alliance. We would gain greatly from humanity's military experience and protection. In return, we offer access to our vast scientific archives, trade networks across hundreds of systems, and resources to aid human expansion in this region." Jake considered carefully. He knew this was beyond his direct authority, but he could open the door. "I can't accept on behalf of Earth alone. I'll need approval from our government. But I can tell you this. Humanity has long sought peaceful contact. An alliance built on cooperation and mutual defense is exactly what we've hoped for. I'll forward your proposal to Earth Command immediately. I believe they'll be very interested." High Admiral Zephos made a gesture the translator labeled as approval and deep gratitude. "That is all we could hope for, Commander. Please know, you and your crew are hailed as heroes across dozens of worlds. The Kingdom of Valendra extends an invitation to visit our homeworld once your repairs are complete. We wish to honor you properly." Jake smiled warmly this time. "We would be deeply honored, Admiral. Thank you." As the delegates departed, Kate approached from the back of the room. "Sir, I've been monitoring fleet transmissions. The Allied forces have eliminated the last of the swarm in this sector. The threat is gone. Not a single creature remains." Jake nodded, feeling the exhaustion of victory settling into his bones. "Excellent. What's Earth Command's response?" Kate checked her datapad. "They've received our report and are reviewing all tactical data. A diplomatic vessel with ambassadors is en route to begin formal talks with the Vidian Alliance. ETA, 2 weeks." Jake looked out the viewport toward the recovering planet below. Cities glowed with life that would have been extinguished without them. "You know, Kate," he said quietly, "when we left Earth on what was supposed to be a routine patrol, I never imagined we'd be founding an interstellar alliance. I thought we'd just spend 3 months counting stars. Kate smiled genuinely. No one could have predicted this, sir. But we showed them something important today, that humanity's ready to stand beside the galaxy, not above it. That we'll fight for what's right, even for strangers. Jake returned the smile. Agreed, come on. Let's get back to the Valiant. Carlos still has repairs to finish, and the crew's earned some rest. I have a feeling this is only the beginning. As they left the observation deck, Jake glanced one last time at the world below, alive, thriving, unaware of how close it had come to extinction. But now it would endure. It would rebuild, grow stronger, and humanity would stand beside it every step of the way. 6 months later, everything had changed. The first joint military drills between human and Vidian fleets had begun. Crews of different species trained, shared tactics, and forged friendships that defied biology and culture. Within a year, 3 more human battleships joined the Valiant in the Vidian sector, accompanied by medical and trade vessels. Humanity had fully committed. Within 5 years, the alliance had grown beyond anyone's imagination, over 40 species united under one banner of defense and cooperation. They shared knowledge, traded freely, and built a peace forged through mutual respect. And it all began because one ship answered a call for help, because one commander chose to fight for strangers.